Hi, my name is Susanna Mills, and I'm the editor-in-chief of the American Philatelist. The October issue of the American Philatelist is all about Aerophilately. Every year, the American Philatelic Center hosts a show with another society. Usually this is a World Series of Philately show, and this year we are working with the American Airmail Society to host their Aerophilately show. The show will be November 4th through 6th, and so this issue is meant to help promote the show and also give people a really good idea of everything that the world of airmail has to offer. Very simply, airmail refers to any kind of mail that was flown through the air, delivered via airplane. So this could include anything from balloon flights, hot air balloon flights, Zeppelin mail, the early days of these pioneer airmail air pilots. A lot of famous pilots broke boundaries within the aviation field. Names are also known to us as philatelists because we have these first flight covers that were carried by them on these pioneering flights, or we have these flight covers that were recovered after a dreadful crash. So airmail is, of course, about seeing the trips that this mail took, connecting it to this amazing human technology and its development, connecting it to aviation history, and telling stories of danger, of brave pilots, and a lot more. This issue, more than any other, was a big community effort. For one thing, we worked with the American Airmail Society to help find authors to write for this issue. For example, David Ball reintroduced me to Dan Gribben, who has been an author with the AP in the past. Dan wrote an article for us about his hunt for the big one, which is a specific set of Aerophilately covers that are really meaningful to him. My editorial team, Jeff Stage and Chad Cowder, also took a lot of the editorial reins on this issue. As I was out ill for a couple of days, and they spent a lot of time working with the authors and developing the design and going back and forth on what the issue would look like when I was not able to be there. So they did an amazing job, and we're really grateful to the help of the American Airmail Society's president, Steve Reinhardt, as well, for sending us information about the show and helping to promote the show as we worked on the issue. So one of the articles I want to highlight is by Paul Holland, and this is related to the airmail theme, where Paul talked about the early trans-Pacific mail with the very well-known China Clipper and other clippers that, in order to do these early airmail flights, they went island hopping from California. And so this was a really exciting article. Paul Holland is also an expert in FDR, who was famously a stamp collector and an APS member. And so Paul combined a lot of scholarship about FDR and FDR's close friends in his presidential cabinet, James Farley, who was the Postmaster General at that time, and then several other big characters in U.S. history at that time were involved as well and make an appearance in that article. I also want to shout out a brand new columnist that began in this issue. His name is Barry White, and he is going to be taking a more humorous approach to stamp collecting. He is a self-described worldie, which is a term he coined to describe himself as a worldwide collector. The other article I want to highlight is by Wayne Youngblood. Wayne is an expert on an aspect of stamp printing that we know as tagging. Essentially, what tagging means is it refers to the application of some sort of luminescence onto stamps. Sometimes it's used as a security device, so the stamps that have the luminescence in the proper pattern, you would know that those are genuine, whereas a counterfeited stamp that looks the same in pretty much every other aspect might not have that same luminescence. So that's one way that people can tell whether this is a counterfeit or not. Another way that post offices use this, and that it's used in the USPS, is as a way to allow mail to go through automatic mail handlers and sorters and check that mail has been properly franked and that it has the right amount of postage in it, and just kind of get it through the system a lot faster. So Wayne describes all of that. He gives really interesting examples shown under UV light. The entire article is glowing green, and it's a really fun and useful resource on this very modern topic within Philately. So some people have asked whether the timing of the September issue of the American Philatelist, which is themed around the British Empire, was coincidence or planned. Obviously, with the great tragedy of Queen Elizabeth's death on September 8th. I can tell you that we've had this issue planned since around this time last year, maybe even before. It's been one of my goals and interests to do an issue around the British Empire for a long time. The anniversary that we were interested in was being able to publish something in time with the Platinum Jubilee, which was the celebration of 70 years of the Queen being on the throne. So it really was just a coincidence that this issue came out. Some people received it the same day as her death. The death of a monarch obviously leaves a lot of ripples in the philatelic world, as well as in just the everyday life of all of our British members. So I think it'll be very interesting to see what the next few months and years bring, as Charles is the next king, and see what happens in the philatelic world. This October brings a very big change for the APS, that being our new partnership with HipStamp. And Scott English describes the entire thing in his column, Our Story. He talks about the reasoning behind this merger, what kind of benefits it will give to APS members, both buyers and sellers, and future buyers and sellers. And he also talks about the online stamp buying and selling industry as a whole, and what this means for the future of the hobby as we see more and more of Philately going online and being affected by what happens online. So with all of these changes, the APS is striving to move into the future and be ahead of the curve and think not just 6 months into the future or 1 year into the future, but 5 years into the future, and what will continue to bring positive change